My phone vibrated across the kitchen table. Once, twice. Then again. The name on the screen made me smile in a way that had nothing to do with humor. Emily. My daughter-in-law never called me. Not unless she needed something. I answered on the fourth ring. The background noise was loud. Plates clattering, laughter, voices overlapping. Thanksgiving chaos. Her voice cut through it. Sharp, irritated. Listen. If you want to join Thanksgiving, come wash the dishes. A pause. Then she laughed. Not kindly. Someone in the background chuckled with her. I could picture it perfectly. The long table. The turkey. My son sitting beside her. And my wife, smiling quietly at the head of the table like she always did. Emily continued. You know, since you're not exactly contributing much these days, the implication hung in the air. The boring accountant. The man worth a pathetic $125,000. The man who never made anything of himself. I leaned back in my chair. Outside my kitchen window, snow drifted across the Swiss hillside like falling ash. The villa lights glowed softly against the mountains. A property no one in my family even knew existed. For a moment, I considered explaining, correcting her, revealing everything. Instead, I said 2 words. Enjoy dinner. Then I hung up. Silence returned to the room. Except for my phone. It vibrated again, and again, and again. But not from Emily. From my wife. It hadn't started with phone calls. It started with numbers. Numbers never lie. People do. 3 months earlier, I noticed a transfer from our joint account. $12,000. The memo line read, consulting fee. My wife had never done consulting in her life. She taught yoga twice a week. That was her entire professional resume. I asked about it casually over breakfast. She didn't even look up from her phone. Oh, that? Just helping a friend with a project. Her tone was light. Effortless. Too effortless. I nodded. Accountants learn patience early. You don't accuse someone over one suspicious line item. You wait. You watch. Another transfer appeared 2 weeks later. $18,000. Same memo. Same recipient. A shell company registered in Delaware. That was the moment something cold began forming in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Just curiosity sharpened into suspicion. I started noticing other things. Her late yoga classes. The way she took calls in the garage. How she angled her phone away from me when texting. Small details. Tiny fractures in a life I thought I understood. One night I woke up at 2:17 a.m. Her side of the bed was empty. The garage light glowed through the kitchen window. I walked halfway down the stairs and stopped. Her voice floated up. Soft. Intimate. Don't worry, she whispered. He doesn't suspect anything. A man laughed on the other end of the call. Low. Confident. My wife laughed too. That was when I realized something important. I wasn't angry. I was awake. I never confronted her. People reveal more when they think you're blind. So I stayed blind. Quiet husband. Predictable accountant. I cooked dinner. Paid bills. Asked about her yoga students. Meanwhile, I watched. The shell company receiving our money belonged to a man named Viktor Karpov. The name alone made my stomach tighten. Russian. 38. Former commodities broker. Recently bankrupt, but his financial trail told a darker story. Large cash movements, offshore accounts, short-term loans from entities that didn't appear on any legitimate registry. Organized crime rarely files paperwork. Yet the fingerprints are always there. Then I found the photo, not by hacking. By accident, my wife left her phone on the couch while she showered. The screen lit up. A message preview appeared. Victor. Miss you already? Curiosity pushed my hand forward. One tap. The conversation opened. Photos scrolled across the screen. Hotel rooms, wine glasses, my wife's bare shoulder, Victor's arm wrapped around her waist. I studied the images calmly. Like evidence in an audit. No rage, no shouting, just information. Then another message caught my eye. Victor. Don't worry about the money. Once I settle, the Russian debt will disappear. Russian debt. That phrase deserved investigation. So I dug deeper. Within 2 days, I had the number, $5 million. That's what Victor owed the Russian mob. Money he clearly did not have. Money he was trying to scrape together, using my wife. And my accounts. I leaned back in my chair that night and finally laughed. Not loudly, just once. Because something about the situation was almost poetic. My wife thought she was stealing from a boring accountant worth $125,000. In reality, she had just helped expose a desperate man hunted by people who don't send polite reminders. The evidence arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. A complete financial map of Viktor Karpov's debt network. 5 lenders. 3 shell corporations. 1 organization connected to a well-known Russian crime syndicate. I printed the documents. 42 pages. Then I waited for my wife to come home. She walked in around 6. Dropped her bag. Kissed my cheek. "Long day," she sighed. I slid the folder across the kitchen table. She frowned. "What's this?" "Just something I found interesting." She opened the first page. Her eyes moved slowly, then faster. Then they stopped completely. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. I watched her carefully. Every tremor, every breath. "Viktor owes $5 million, I said calmly. Her face drained of color. That's not true." I tilted my head. "Or you didn't know?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Finally, she asked the question she had been avoiding for months. "How much do you know?" I smiled faintly. "Enough." Silence filled the room like rising water. For the first time in our marriage, my wife looked. I didn't shout. Didn't threaten. That would have been emotional. Messy. Instead, I reached for my phone and opened the photo gallery. The screen displayed a picture of my Swiss villa. White stone walls, glass balconies overlooking the mountains. My wife stared at it, confused. "What is that?" "My house." Her eyes blinked slowly. "You don't own a house in Switzerland." I swiped to the next image. "A bank statement." Another. "Investment portfolios. Holding companies." Her breathing changed. "Viktor believed you," I said softly. "He believed I was a small accountant worth $125,000. I folded my hands together. "The truth is closer to hidden millions." Her chair scraped against the floor as she stood. "You lied to me." "No," I replied calmly. "I simply didn't correct your assumptions." Then I delivered the final piece. "By the way, I forwarded Viktor's financial profile to the people he owes." Her face froze. "You didn't." "I did." A quiet pause stretched between us. "Why?" she whispered. I looked at her for a long moment, then answered honestly. "Because betrayal deserves clarity." The phone started ringing that night. First my wife's, then mine. Over and over. 71 missed calls. Viktor apparently had finally seen the photographs. The villa. The accounts. The man he thought he was stealing from. My daughter-in-law called too. After someone showed her the same images online. Her voice sounded very different this time. Polite, almost desperate. I didn't answer. Not once. Outside, the Swiss mountains stood silent under fresh snow. Cold, clean, untouched. I poured myself a glass of wine and watched the lights flicker across the valley. People often mistake quiet men for weak ones. They think silence means ignorance, compliance. But silence is simply patience. And patience is the most expensive weapon in the world. I turned my phone face down on the table. For the first time in years, there was nothing left to calculate.